Hi there, Sandy here with your snowman making tutorial today. Now before we start, I just want to say that the kits have got some small parts in them, so please keep them away from small children because they are a bit of a choking hazard. Also, if you use anything other than a clay tool to cut your clay, please wash it afterwards and keep it nice and clean. The clay is non-toxic, but it's always better to have your clean equipment afterwards. Okay, let's get going with what we've got in the kits. So if you've got a kit like this, that's great. You've got an eye pin that is buried into your white clay, being held in place. You've got white, purple, orange and black air drying polymer clay in here, and all of this will make up your snowman. So let's get started. Oh, if you haven't got a kit, by the way, if you look down below, you'll see a list of all the materials that you need, and you'll be able to make one up anyway. So to get it out of the bag, I usually turn it inside out and pop it out that way, like that. Now, what you need to do, once it's out, I would press the air out of the bag and reseal it. Because this is an air drying clay, it starts going off immediately. So you'll actually have better results if you seal it back up and pop it over there. Okay, so take your eye pin out of your clay, take the clay off it. If you've got clay on your eye pin, just dab your main same colour on top of it, the white, and pop that over there because we'll need that right at the end of the tutorial. Okay, take your white clay. Now if it's not as easy to manipulate and massage and stretch as this is, then what I recommend is flatten it out a little bit, grab a bit of water, dip 2 fingers in, pull them out, shake them off, and then just rub it onto the surface of the clay. This is okay, so I'm not going to add any extra water, but you shouldn't need too much water. It doesn't take a lot to get it back to nice and soft. So take your clay, make sure it's nice and soft, and then we're going to roll it into a ball. Don't worry if it's not a perfect ball yet, because we're actually then going to roll it into a sausage like that. So the first step we're going to do is cut down all the pieces that we need to make up our snowmen. So that's the body, the head and the arms. So you've got your sausage. If you've got a tool, that's great, just a normal clay tool. We want to cut it into 2/3 and 1/3. So the easy way of finding that is the halfway mark is about there. That's fine. So I'm just going to go just a little bit further across from the halfway mark. Not too far, so you don't want to be way up here, just a little bit. Now if you haven't got a tool, don't worry, you can use your fingernails. So I normally just stick my fingers in like that. And then you can cut either with the tool straight through, so it opens up, or you can just pop your fingers into where you put the line and just pull it apart like that. Now put your small piece to one side for a second, take your big piece and roll it into a ball. Now this is where we need a nice smooth finish on the outside and a really good circular ball. So mine's a bit, give it another one, get the creases out, give it another roll if you've got creases, or add a little bit of water. Now mine's still a bit saucer shaped, so I'm just going to press things down so that we've got more of a nice ball shape. And then if you've got some greaseproof paper, that's great. If not, don't worry about it. Use your greaseproof paper if you've got some. Otherwise, pop it on your surface, don't squidge it too much, and just press it so it's got a slightly flat bottom so it doesn't roll away. Then you want to take your small piece and roll that into a ball and into a sausage. Now we're going to make the head and arms. So you want, I'll make it fairly even, and that's it. So what you want now is the halfway mark. So the halfway is about there. So pop your fingernails in if you need to. And then just break it apart, half and half. But there's one piece over there, and have a look here. Actually, with this one, roll it into a ball. It is better if you look just a rough ball. So I'm going to take the body I'm going to see if that looks like the right size head for that body. That looks a little bit small, so this piece might be a little bit bigger. Roll that into a ball. Now that, you see it was trying to stick together there, they're very naughty. So that looks like a better ratio of head and body to me, so I'm going to put the body back over there and I'm going to roll the ball. So we've got a nice spherical ball. And I'm going to put the body there, and I'm going to gently put the head on top. It should stick together. If it doesn't, just put a very small little bit of water on and hold it in place for a while. There we go. So that's the head on. So we've now got this small piece left. If we roll this into a sausage, then what you want are 2 arms. So I'm going to cut this one again, just right in the middle in half. They need to be, if you want them the same size, you can have them the same size, but we just need 2 of them, roughly the same size, like that. Okay. Then what you want to do is roll these into sausages. I find it easier just to, we have got little creases on these, so I'm going to give them another roll. Get them nice and smooth, and then just roll. Don't do this with short bits, but do long, and then this keeps it round then, like that. So once I've got a sausage, don't touch your body, just put it close to and see whether that looks about the right size. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to keep that one. I'm going to roll this one as well. And then I'm going to make the second arm. Now this one's probably shrunk a little bit, not too much. I like it's alright that size. So I'm going to make this one the same size. It's a little bit longer, so I'm going to push it in a little bit. So I've got 2 arms the same size, I'm happy with those. And I'm going to pick one arm up and I'm going to hold it at one end and just pinch like that. So you end up with that shape. So you can see, so it's got a thin bit here. I'm going to take one of the other arm, do the same thing at one end. I'm just going to pinch it so you've got a small area that's flat. Then you're going to grab your snowman's body, take that flat area, put the point of that flat area into the neck there on your snowman. Try not to squeeze anywhere else when you do it. And then it should attach to itself, and then you can just roll the arm down like that. And do the same thing with the second one. Take the flat pointy bit there, put it in to the neck, and then just roll the arm down. And then if you can, get in and flatten his shoulders a little bit. Sometimes this is where a tool comes in useful, just to press the clay down in the little gap, like that. I'm happy. So there we go, we've got the snowman with his body and his head and his arms ready to go. So the next stage is to put his scarf on, and his scarf is the purple clay. So I'm going to grab the purple clay out here. It might, as I said, take my own advice, turn the bag inside out, pull it off the plastic, there we go. If it's sticking, it's a good sign because it means it's not dried out too much. So I've picked up all the bits of clay. I've got my purple. Now to turn that back, I've been careful so these two haven't come in contact with each other. Push the air out, reseal it, and that's ready for in a minute. So I've got a bit of purple everywhere on my fingernails. So purple's nice and soft and ready to go, and what we want is a nice long sausage. So we roll it into a ball, get it nice and smooth on the outside. To another go, got a few creases, there we go. And then I'm going to start rolling. What I'm going to do is just move the snowman a little bit further back. Now be careful If you've got purple clay on your hands or black or orange, it will transfer onto the snowman and it's quite difficult to get off. In fact, it's very difficult to get off. So be careful when you're touching your snowman that you haven't got any purple clay on or any other colour. So I'm just going to roll this out into a nice long sausage. So that's actually picked a bit of clay up off the surface. So I'm going to take that off. Picked up a bit of white there, it did. Right, so you want this smooth without it as bump free as possible, I think is the best way to put it. So if you see you've got a bump forming, like I've got a bump here, I'm just going to roll that bit so it's a bit flatter and a bit more the same size as the rest. So just keep going. You want quite a lot of scarf because, check my fingers, yeah, because you're going to start on his stomach here and you're going to dress your snowman. So you're going to go round his neck, all the way around the back around the front, all the way, and then back down the back again. So it does need to be quite a long scarf that we need to make for him. So I'm just going to keep rolling this until we've got a really good length. Take my lumps out where I can. So we've got something pretty smooth. Right, so that's, if I kind of loop that round without touching on anything, I think we're, yeah. So if you can see, that's kind of looping round nicely. Should be long enough, because once we put it on, it's going to be really difficult to take it off. You're going to have to start from scratch again as soon as you've put it on if it needs to be moved. It is a bit of a pain, that. Right, once you've got your nice long sausage, we want to flatten it. So just take your finger and flatten it the whole length. Like that. I'm going to go back, that's a bit out of shape, so I'm going to push that in a bit. I've got a bit of a mark there, so that'll probably go on the inside. Okay, now very gently lift it off your surface. Sometimes if you're doing something like that, it is a good idea to do it on the greaseproof paper where you can. So I'm going to move this down, and at this end I'm going to cut off the very tip of the scarf, put it over there out the way, and then press in any stray clay, make the ends nice and neat. And then you can either do it with a tool or you can do it with a fingernail, and you can put little lines just on the end of the scarf, and that represents his fringes of his scarf. Don't do the other end yet, we'll do that in a second when we know where to cut. Take your snowman, make sure your hands are clean, and we're going to pop his scarf on. So start on his side here and pop the scarf against the white and hold it just gently with your thumb. Now don't touch it on your snowman unless you're ready for it to go on properly. And then we go over his shoulder and then round the back of his head. Then we come out the front on this shoulder and we go round the front of his neck here. Neaten that up a little bit, and then we go back over his shoulder. Now before we stick this down, we can see that we want it about that length. So I'm going to put a little mark in, and then I'm going to cut it through with my fingernail, like that. It might look a little bit messy, but what we can do is just press that in, like that, and it comes nice, neat end to his scarf. And then again we can just put little lines in the end of his scarf, like that, for the fringes. And then once we've got that nice and finished, we can go ahead and just press that down against the body, and that's stuck in place. Now these have gone a bit hazy, they're not very clear now, so you can either do it again with your fingernail or grab your tool and put some lines back in for his fringes, like that. Just check the back ones, they're okay. So there he is with his little scarf on. Just roll your purple up, collect up the extra little bit. That can go and wait. You can make something else with that if you want to. But now we're going to put his nose on. So we're going to get the orange out. Again, keeping it away from the black. Take your orange out of the pack. There's plenty here for what you need to do, so don't worry about running out. Shut that back up. Now we only need a small amount, so I'm just going to pinch a small amount, only about that much, because it's for the carrot for his face. So I'm going to roll it into a ball, and then not in the middle, so not in the middle, but off to one side, just roll on one side, and you'll end up with a carrot shape like that. Now, I'm not sure if that's too big. I haven't got any orange on my hands, so I'm just going to have a look and see if that looks like it's big enough, and that looks big enough to me. If it isn't, then grab a bit more clay. If it's too big, just take a bit off and re-roll your carrot. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to put that right in the middle of his face. Careful you don't make any other marks on the clay, and careful you don't transfer any other orange off your hands. So there he is, he's got his carrot nose, bless him. And I'm going to put the orange to one side. I'm going to get the black out of the clay. Now you only need a really, really small amount of the black. And so I'm going to take a tiny little bit off, and then I'm going to put it back in the bag with the others. So there's a tiny little bit of black. And what we're going to do is just drop it back in the bag, drop the orange back in the bag, and drop the purple in. And then if you seal this up, you can use this for anything else you want to later. You don't have to throw it away, you can reuse it, make something else. So take your black, roll it into a ball, and then into a sausage, because it just makes it easier to do the cutting. And this is quite fiddly, little fingers are really good at this. So if I can get that in the right place for you so you can see. There we go. So you want two tiny, tiny, tiny pieces of black clay off the end of there. Now those, yeah, they look a little small to me actually, so I'm going to make them slightly larger, so I'm going to add a little bit more. It's really up to you what you think is going to look okay. Don't make them too big, or he just tends to look very surprised. But that's, yeah, I think I'm kind of happy with those. They're about the same size. So we're ready to pop it on. Now to make it easier, check your hands for black. I haven't got any, so I'm okay. It lurks under the fingernails sometimes. If you grab your eye pin, we're just going to use it as a tool. Take your snowman and the pointy end of your eye pin and decide where your eyes want to go, and just pop a little dent into the clay. There we go. There we go. Now that one's a little bit lower, so I might actually go a bit higher with the eye, but it gives you a good guide on where to put the eye in. And you put the other one in the same as well, like that. There we go. So there he is, he starts to come to life now when he's got a little face. But if you've got space, sometimes the scarf can come up right under his nose like he's muffled up against the cold. But if you have got a space here like I have, I usually use my little fingernail and just pop that in there to give him a nice little smile. And that's your snowman complete, apart from grab your eye pin, because we need to hang him on a Christmas tree somehow. So take your eye pin. At this stage, if you have got some PVA glue, At this stage, take your PVA glue, let me take the lid off there, that's it. Take your PVA glue, squeeze top, and just put a dab of PVA glue, not too much. Just put a dab of PVA glue on the end of your eye pin. Don't worry, if you haven't got any, it doesn't matter, it'll still go in, it'll still stay in. This just makes it a little bit more secure. So, a little bit of PVA, grab your snowman, very gently, top of his head, very carefully. Don't squeeze with these fingers and thumbs, otherwise you're going to misshape all your hard work. And just very gently hold him underneath if it helps, as you push down, so that there we go, so that the loop at the top is flush with the top of his head, and that gives you something that you can pop him on a little bit of thread through, and then you can hang him onto the tree dead easy. You could, if you wanted, pop it onto a keyring, but the only problem with a keyring is his nose. If you see how his nose sticks out, that's likely to get pulled off if you make him into a keyring. So a Christmas tree decoration, I think, is ideal. And for grandkids, I think to make these for grandparents, or friends to make them for friends to pop on their tree, I think is really nice, and then you can get these out every year and show them off that they came with love from a friend of yours. Now, to dry your snowman, you don't have to do anything. If you just find a shelf somewhere, pop him on a shelf, and I'll put the lid on my glue, pop your snowman on a shelf somewhere nice and quiet where he won't get knocked, because for the first 24 hours it's going to be really soft and squidgy, so you don't want to go anywhere near him. But pop him on a shelf. If you've got some greaseproof paper, pop him on your greaseproof paper. If he's over a radiator, on a shelf over a radiator, even better. 24 hours he's going to be touch dry and he won't be squidgy, but 3 days will be the total time to do the cure. And after 3 days he'll be like a very hard foam, and it'll be quite robust. But just be careful of his nose, because that's his vulnerable bit. You could always, if his nose gets pulled off, you could either PVA glue it back on, or you've got a little bit of extra orange, you can make him another nose and stick him another nose on. So there you go. There's your lovely little smiling snowman, all wrapped up against the winter and ready to go in 3 days on your Christmas tree to say Happy Christmas. So enjoy making your snowman, and we'll see you soon. Bye.